Welcome to the Empty Wagon Fantasy Podcast. I'm your co-host, Josh Hughes, and with me is Brad the Dad. Hat-trick Pat will be taking the night off. He's busy buying a brand new vehicle. Congratulations, Pat. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about some reports and rumors. We're going to review the Monday night games, which were awesome, by the way, and we're going to preview the Thursday night games. All right, Brad, are you ready to talk about these reports and rumors?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so first on the list, Doug Baldwin. He's going to miss at least a couple weeks.
Yeah, I from what I've heard, it's been 2 to 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, so,
2 MCL tear.
Yes, not very good. And this is the other knee. So he injured the other knee in training camp, and now this knee is a little bit different, MCL tear. So what do you think the fantasy fallout is from this, Brad?
Well, I think it affects everybody up and down when you really look at this. It affects Russell Wilson because this is number one target, right? And then it affects the other wide receiving core there, right? So now who do we look at? Do we look at Brandon Marshall? Do we look at Tyler Lockett? What was that tight end that had a big game? I already forgot his name.
Will Dissly.
Yeah, Will Dissly.
Yeah, so from what I understand, Will Dissly was supposed to be the guy next year. Not this year, but apparently that's coming to fruition a little. But he had a big catch, and that's really what it boiled down to, is he had one big catch. Honestly, and this is strange, I think the guy to own in Seattle now is Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, I think he's the one that probably best fits that Doug Baldwin kind of run around, get open while Russell Wilson runs around.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange because you think, well, is Brandon Marshall having a career resurgence? But yeah, that's who I honestly think is the guy to own. I mean, he was the most targeted after Doug Baldwin went out. He was more targeted than Tyler Lockett. And Tyler Lockett had that big play, a 51-yard catch, and that's the reason that he was fantasy relevant this week. If it wasn't for that, I don't know if we'd be talking about Tyler Lockett at all.
And the thing I worry about with Doug Baldwin, even still going back to what we started talking about, was this is the other knee. This isn't the knee that he already hurt in the offseason.
Yeah.
So now even when he comes back, he's still not going to be fully right.
Well, he said that he was going to be 85%. So does this bump him down to like 70 when he comes back?
I don't know what's going on. So we'll see how it works out. I mean, for all the Doug Baldwin owners, I'd probably be getting a little nervous because you probably took him 4th round, 5th roundish.
Yeah. And I don't math good, so I don't know what percentages are, but I'm not really excited about it. So, all right, so that's it with Doug Baldwin. The next one, Martavis Bryant re-signed with the Raiders today after they cut him, even though he's probably going to get suspended.
Well, I heard the suspension might not happen now. They might hold off on it for a while because some of the evidence they had isn't coming through or something. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know if he got Lance Armstrong's lawyer to call the P good or what.
Do you think that there will be a fantasy impact for Martavis Bryant or not really?
Yeah, I do, because I think we saw in the game the other night was when they play good corners like the Rams, their wide receivers couldn't get off and couldn't get open.
Absolutely.
They had Seth Roberts in the slot or their third wide receiver, and I think Martavis Bryant is better than Seth Roberts when you really think about it, talent-wise.
Yeah, and they're going to end up moving him to the outside. I think Jordy will be the other outside receiver, and then you're going to just leave Amari Cooper in the slot. And hopefully this will create some mismatches if Martavis Bryant does come back, and maybe it'll open things up even for Amari Cooper a little bit more because it seemed like they used Jared Cook a lot. We won't get into that too much because we've got to break down that game, but after that we have the Lions. Apparently the Lions players have come out anonymously and said they were upset with Matt Patricia.
Yeah, is this because they just got their butts whooped on national TV?
So,
I mean, let's be honest, because we didn't hear these reports in the offseason at all. And then they get destroyed. Now they don't like them. Well, they were fine with them before.
They said that, so what they were talking about is that they were gassed. Like, they were worried if they were going to have anything left because Matt Patricia just worked them too hard.
Okay.
All right, very good analysis on that. I
mean, it's just the timing seems bad.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, I just thought it was important to talk about because they got worked, obviously. But you know what didn't change is even though Matt Patricia came in, Jim Bob Cooter is still the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and that's why the defense looked terrible. Let's get that straight. The defense looked bad.
Which is Matt Patricia's forte.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe there is something here, but I think it's just a new coach. And there's going to be grumblings in the locker room when you get steamrolled like they did.
Yeah, and absolutely. And it's not like Bill Belichick was successful in his first stint as a head coach.
Exactly.
And he does come from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. And all right, so next, Greg Olsen. He said that he's not going to have surgery. He's going to rest that foot a little bit and hopes to continue playing this season at some point.
Well, what this means to me is that this is probably his last year. Because if he was coming back next year, he would get the surgery now and just set out the whole year and come back fully healthy next year. I think he's done after this year. There was already grumblings and rumblings in the offseason, and now I really think this is what's coming about it.
I completely agree. That's the same thing that I was thinking. I was thinking that, he doesn't want to have the surgery because he knows this is it. There was already talk of it in the offseason anyway about him retiring, maybe going to the booth like Jason Witten did. And, I think this is probably his swan song. So,
yeah, I literally think he's just going to wait. He's going to try to hopefully they make a playoff push and he can come through in the playoffs and maybe get that Super Bowl run.
Yeah, but to me, he's totally a droppable fantasy asset. All right, next, Delaney Walker is done for the year.
I think we kind of alluded to this on Monday's show, but it's really bad for fantasy options, and I think probably most people's waiver wire is cleared now, and you probably made your moves, but if you have it, you need to go out and get a tight end, an Austin Seferian-Jenkins, a Jared Cook. George Kittle obviously is out there, but he isn't going to be out there after waiver wire is over.
No, maybe even Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, there's plenty of tight ends out there. They're not good options that I'm really super happy about, but I'll take a flyer on somebody, especially a tight end.
All right, and then the next one I know you're particularly excited about. The Pats have signed 2 wide receivers today. The first one, Mr. Benny Fowler.
Yep, Mr. No Hands.
And then the second one, Mr. Corey Coleman.
Mr. Broke Hands.
Yes, but Corey Coleman has all the talent in the world. We can both agree on that, right?
So here's what I think. Do you need to rush out and get Corey Coleman unless you're in a deep dynasty 32, some stupid, ridiculous deep league? No, you don't need to, or you got really deep benches. You wait on Corey Coleman. But you go on to ESPN or you go on to Yahoo and you click on that watch button, that little star button, right? And you put him up there so every time you look at the free agents, you see him up there and you can kind of track what he's doing. You see what he's doing. Because with Tom Brady, they need another wide receiver. They had 2 active wide receivers coming into the week before they signed these guys. 2.
I thought they had 3. Philip Dorsett, Chris Hogan, and
Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, 3.
Cordell Patterson. You can call him wide receiver, I guess.
He's a special teams guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's what I think the biggest disappointment was. Is I thought that really Rex Burkhead would get some more play, but they didn't need it. They were kind of dominating the Texans for the most part. So I'm interested, not so much in Benny Fowler, but definitely Corey Coleman. I want to see what happens with this. He's got all the talent in the world, and if anyone can revive his career, it would be Bill Belichick in New England. I think the reason that this move waited is because veteran contracts are guaranteed if they're on the roster week 1. After that, they're not.
Yeah. So, but this is Corey Coleman's best quarterback he's had, his best offense he's played in. This is the best situation he's had his whole career. So he is a first-round talent. He was drafted in the first round to be the guy in Cleveland.
The man. Yeah. All right, so then you got Marquise Goodwin. He's got a bruised thigh, and he's day-to-day.
This is, I think, terrible for this podcast because I think we were all really high on Marquise Goodwin this year.
I'm still high on him. I think he's great.
I am
so
too,
high.
but if he's not practicing and the offense looked okay, but not great, Pierre Garçon didn't look good.
Well, they were playing one of the best defenses in the league.
And that's one way to put it, but still, if he's not 100%, because he's a speed guy, right? And if there's something wrong with his legs, I worry about how fast he's going to get down the field.
Your legs are important to run.
Yeah, kind of.
I know I've had 2 knee surgeries, I know. All right, and the last little bit of rumors we got with Marcus Mariota, and Aaron Rodgers are still being evaluated.
Yeah, so they came out after the Packers game with Aaron Rodgers and said, we'll see if he plays week 2. He played the whole second half.
No, that's crazy.
And now you're going to say, we'll see if he plays week 2.
Of course he's going to play week 2.
They did this last year when they held him out, when he played that one game, but then they got knocked out of playoff contention. They pulled him. I don't understand this so much. Obviously, they want to do their due diligence, make sure that knee's good, because they did just invest a little bit of money in him. So
he's going to play. As far as Mariota goes, do you really want Matt Castle to be your starter? I think that if he's okay, they're going to fire him up because he's way better than Matt Castle.
Yeah, and Mariota's been a guy that's just been rattled with injuries. Every year it seems like he's got something wrong with him.
Well, that offensive line in Tennessee is not great.
No, and they had injuries on it too, which is terrible.
Yeah, that's tough all over. All right. So now that we got done with our reports and rumors, we're going to get into the breakdown of these Monday night games. And I'll go ahead and kick it off with the Lions and the Jets. First, we'll start off with the Lions because the Jets are more exciting.
Yeah. Did the Lions really show up to play? You sure those were the real Lions players? I get their uniforms are out there, but you sure that was really the team? They didn't have some Detroit high school team come out there and try to play?
No, I'm sure. And I would like to correct my previous statement. Matt Castle is not the backup for the Tennessee Titans. He is for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So excuse me on that. No.
Who is it in Tennessee?
For Tennessee,
you corrected me on
It's Blaine Gabbert.
There you go.
So Blaine, yes. So yeah, you really don't want that either. That's worse than Matt Castle. I don't know how he's still in the league. But as long as Nathan Peterman's got a job, then Blaine Gabbert will have somewhere to go in the NFL. All right, so the first thing we got to talk about is Matty Snapback Stat Mafford, as I like to call him, because he puts up them stats. This week it was just the wrong stats. He put up 286 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 4, count them, 4 interceptions. And then they just went ahead and said, you know what, you just take the rest of the night off, buddy. And it wasn't good, man. It was not good. And then Matt Castle went in there and he threw 2 for 6. And he decided he'd go ahead and get on this interception game. He threw 1 too. Just cuz.
Yeah.
Just cuz, why not?
That's what he does.
Yeah, might as well go ahead and throw an interception. Good job, Matt Castle. Now we'll talk about the running backs real quick. LeGarrette Blount got hurt. He ran the ball 4 times for -3 yards, so it wasn't really exciting. We were thinking he was going to have a goal line role, but now if he's seriously injured, which I researched this and it seems like no one cares. I searched through everything. I'm like, can I get some updated injury? No one cares. It's just LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount. The problem with him is that he was barely on the field before the injury. Yeah. They were giving carry-on work before him. He's not going to be the passing down guy. He may try to punch it in the end zone. That's it. That's all you're getting from him.
It was just a real bummer. And then you had Theo Riddick, 4 for 20, and then Carry-On, 5 for 17. Carry-On Johnson. So watching this game, it was apparent to me that even though the numbers aren't great, 5 for 17, and then he caught 3 passes for 20 yards, Carry-On Johnson is going to be the man in Detroit. I mean, I've been saying this all offseason. I believe in Carry-On Johnson, but he was out there making one-handed catches. He looked really good running the ball. It just seems like they're still hesitant to give him more and more work. I don't know why, but it is the same offensive coordinator from last year. They were a little bit behind. It makes sense, but he can catch just as well as he can throw or run. So Carry-On Johnson is the guy for me there. But if LeGarrette Blount's hurt, you know who's going to start being active again?
Amir Abdullah.
Amir Abdullah just will not go away, man. Theo Riddick had 5 catches for 20 yards, or for 15 yards, so about 3 yards a catch. Great job, Theo. And then he ran the ball 4 times for 20 yards. So that's pretty much it on that. And then Kenny Golladay, leading receiver for your Detroit Lions.
Week 1 every year he's been in the league.
2 years in a row, yes. 2 years in a row.
Every year.
7 for 114. To me, this means, well, one, they were playing catch-up, so they did throw the ball a lot, 46 times for Stat Mafford and 6 times for Matt Castle. But I think that this could really be the change in the guard. Marvin Jones is kind of getting phased out a little bit, and it could be Kenny Golladay being the guy. It's his second year. He looked great. He really did look great. If he stays healthy this year, I would really like to watch him a little bit more. Golden Tate, 7 for 79, touchdown. Pretty average Golden Tate game.
Golden Tate doing Golden Tate things.
Yeah, just doing Golden Tate things. And then Marvin Jones Jr., 4 for 54 yards. That's pretty much it on the Detroit Lions side of the ball. It just wasn't – they didn't look great. I mean, it looked like they came out and they weren't ready to play this game. The Jets said that they already had – they knew the plays before they even ran them. They could see the way that they were set in their lineups. They kind of knew their calls. It was like Jim Bob Cooter didn't change anything from last year. And Matt Patricia was okay with it. I don't know why Jim Bob Cooter still has a job, but he
Whoa, Jim Bob's good. He turned around that offense a couple years ago. Was it last year? He turned around that offense.
Year before last.
Yeah, he turned that offense around. So I think we got to give him a little time here. They are working a rookie running back into the role, and they are a pass-first team. I mean, let's get this straight. As long as Matthew Stafford's back there, they're going to be a pass-first team.
Throwing up them stats.
Yeah.
Stat Mafford.
That's what he does.
That's what he does. Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more. They came out of the gate a little flat, so I'm a bit disappointed in the Detroit Lions, but I do expect it to be better. Now, as far as the New York Jets go, Sam Darnold started this game real hot. came out the gate and threw a pick six. First NFL pass.
And like they told us 14,000 times at the broadcast. So did Brett Favre.
But the thing that you have to remember is
Brett Favre.
The thing that you have to remember is Brett Favre also ended his career with an interception.
Yeah. But the thing they don't mention about Brett Favre is he didn't do that in the Packers uniform. He did it as a Falcon. So are you trying to say that he's going to get traded too?
No, I don't think that they're going to get rid of Sam Darnold because after that, he did look very good. 16 for 21, 198 yards. He made smart decisions with the ball. He 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold didn't look bad, but then again, the Detroit Lions defense didn't really do a lot to stop him. So then you had your running backs. The Crow, 10 for 102 with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, wasn't there a 67-yard run?
Well, that's not really relevant.
I mean,
no,
obviously,
super relevant.
It's part of the stats, right?
Yes.
He obviously got it. But when you take that one away, it's 9 for 40 yards and a touchdown?
It's an average or below average game, excuse me. It wasn't great because they did share the work between him and Bilal Plow quite a bit. I know that's not how you pronounce his name. I don't care. So Isaiah Crowell did have the big run. He actually hit some holes, which was weird for Isaiah Crowell. He doesn't normally do that. But it's the same thing. We have to mention that a lot of it came from one big play. The same thing with Saquon Barkley. It's very important. So a guy like Isaiah Crowell, you almost wonder if maybe you should sell high.
Sell high, sell.
And I feel the same way about Mr. Robbie Anderson because he went 1 for 41 with 1 touchdown.
Yeah, but they were up so much in that game that they didn't really need to air it out deep. They were working the clock.
I don't know if that's Sam Darnold's specialty.
Well, it was his specialty at USC, was going deep and throwing the deep ball. I think that right now they're just trying to ease him into the offense and not ruin his confidence at the beginning.
Exactly. So my argument is that if you can take Robbie Anderson and you can sell him and get something out of him, maybe now would be the time. I don't know if holding on to him is the best idea.
Yeah, you remember last year when you gave up on Robbie Anderson a little too early? What happened?
Well, let's not talk about that. All right, so Bilal Powell went 12 for 60. The running backs weren't really that involved in the passing game. Bilal Powell had 1 reception for 5 yards. Other than that, they had Cannon come in there and catch 1 for 6 yards. I don't even know who he is.
They got up so much.
Yeah, so don't even go worry about picking up Cannon. Now, the interesting thing is that he spread the ball around quite a bit between Quincy Enunwa, who was out all year last year with a broken neck, 6 for 63 and 1 touchdown. And then he had Terrell Pryor, Mr. Terrell Pryor, 3 for 49. But most of that came on 1 drive.
Yeah.
It was a strange game. You can't really take a lot away from this game based on what happened because the blowout, it got out of hand really quickly. So don't read too much into it, but I like Quincy Enunwa. I think he's going to be a really hot waiver wire pickup.
He's a good possession guy. I mean, and like we said, they're easing him into the offense. We'll see how it works out towards the end of the year when defenses start shutting down the easy plays and make him go deep and try to beat them deep.
I think, and you discussed this earlier today, and I think what you said was that they're using him the same way that they did when he played 2 years ago. He is their tight end.
Yeah, he's their tight end who lines up a wide receiver.
Absolutely. And I like Quincy Enunwa. I picked him up that year whenever my team was in shambles, and he helped me stumble to a 6-7 record. So thank you very much, Quincy Enunwa. I believe in you. All right, now that we're done with that game, is there anything you'd like to add before we move on?
Not really. I think if you have carry on, don't freak out yet. Wait. You knew this was going to be a waiting process if you drafted carry on early.
Absolutely. We all knew that. But if you watch the game, you could see that the talent is there.
Yeah, he is their best running back.
By far, he's their best running back. Theo Riddick is a passing guy, but when carry on goes out there and he catches those passes like he did, even Theo Riddick could be phased out at some point. Carry on's a 3-down back.
Yeah, I just don't think they're going to put that workload on him this early.
No. I don't think that they'll use him that way, but I do believe that that's what his future holds. All right, so next, Brad, we'll go ahead and let you start with this Rams and Raiders game. John Gruden's return to coaching.
And it started off hot.
Dude, it
those
did.
Raiders were firing on all cylinders off the bat.
It looked good.
His new age offense looked good. He was out there with the glasses that break apart and you wear them as a necklace, looking old out there on the sidelines.
Still got that blonde hair though.
But it started off with a great drive. You have Marshawn Lynch carrying like 16 dudes in.
He did, dude.
He carried both teams pretty much on his back. The only person that wasn't was Derek Carr, I think.
He looked great.
Yeah, he literally had a Rams on his leg and Talib trying to rip the ball in his hand and just kept on walking.
Yeah, I mean, the dude looked incredible on that first drive.
The first drive, yes. And then now he's day-to-day. We don't really know what's going on with him.
Well, he's old. He's an old running back.
He only had 11 carries, 41 yards, and a touchdown. So his numbers look good because of that touchdown.
Yes.
And he added, I believe, a couple catches there, too. He had 2 catches for 8 yards, which, if you get any catches from Marshawn Lynch, you're happy about him. That's just free points, especially in PPR.
Yeah, you don't expect those. But then you don't expect his backup, Doug Martin, to come in there and catch a lot of passes either.
Yeah, but he only had 2.
No, yeah, but then the guy that they used whenever they were behind and they were trying to catch up was Jalen Richard.
Yeah, and that's the younger, faster back. But Derek Carr did not look good at all. He looked actually good in the first half. And then the second half came around, and he just said, hey, guys, let me show you how I've been playing for the last couple of years. I think David might have put the uniform on and came out there.
Oh,
His first interception in the first half was he underthrew Jared Cook, who'd been lighting up. And if he overthrew him a little bit or just put the ball a little higher, Jared Cook could have got the ball. But he threw it behind him by like 4 yards, and the safety was just right there to grab it.
It was kind of like a tale of two halves, really, because they came out flat in the second half, and the Rams were ready to roll.
Oh, yeah.
They made their adjustments, and they moved on. And it looked like John Gruden just said, well, we're content with what we got. Let's just keep going out there and seeing what we can do. But it really fell flat in their face. I mean, Amari Cooper, 1 catch.
Yep, 1 catch for 9 yards and 1 run for 9 yards. Everybody's had huge high hopes for Amari Cooper this year, and they just didn't come. But this is a really, really good Rams defense. Like, we can't forget that. They added 2 corners, Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, who were rated pretty high at their position.
Pretty good.
And they have a really good pass rush. So I think Gruden was trying to protect Derek Carr.
So you'd say Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald are good?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're decent. Right. I mean, they're up there. So I think he was trying to protect them, do short passes. Amari Cooper did line up in the slot like 74% of the time, which is good. We haven't seen that.
Yeah.
The past 2 years, it's been like around 20% of the time. So they're moving him around. They're trying to get him in these good matchups. I just don't think he had time to get down the field. I think that's what we saw. This was Derek Carr didn't have the time to find him deep down the field and actually get open with that really good backfield.
Who do you block? I mean, you got Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald. They tried to block Aaron Donald, and then Ndamukong Suh just ran wild.
Yeah, they tried to drop Aaron Donald, and Aaron Donald laid on top of Derek Carr. You got a penalty, but Booger said it was good.
It's just bananas. I mean, now there was a clear deficiency in their defense, though, right? They could not stop Jared Cook.
Yeah, so if there's one problem, it's their linebacking core, and it was Jared Cook. But honestly, I think they were like, we'll let Jared Cook beat us. If that's what you're going to do to beat us, he can move down the field. You get in the red zone, we're going to stop you. And that's exactly what we saw from him. Was Jared Cook here, the tight end extraordinaire, 9 receptions on 12 targets for 180 yards. It should have been 10 for 200 and a touchdown had Derek Carr laid that ball up a little nicer.
Jared Cook's on his way to 1,000-yard season.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So but if you remember last year, he did get the most targets on the team.
It's bananas.
We forget about this. Like, Jared Cook did get the most targets this year. Jared Cook has these games. I mean, if you need a tight end, if you're a Delaney Walker owner, Greg Olsen owner, you can go after Jared Cook. They used him. I mean, he was out there. Jordy Nelson didn't really do anything. 3 receptions, 23 yards. We already talked about Amari Cooper. Seth Roberts was 1 for 11. These wide receivers just couldn't get off these quarters and safeties. They couldn't get open. And Derek Carr didn't have the time to find them. Doug Martin looked like the Doug Martin we've gotten used to.
Yeah, that Rams defense was working as advertised. And it doesn't hurt that you got Wade Phillips as the coordinator.
And then the Rams started scoring, right? So now the Raiders are down and they're trying to throw. And we just talked about this pass rush. So it's a bad situation altogether with this Rams offense and defense combo.
My gosh. Yeah.
So we'll move on to the Rams here now. Unless you want to add anything about the Raiders.
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. Good job.
So the Rams offense, what I'm kind of worried about the Rams offense is what I was worried about last year. It was getting in the end zone. They had another issue about getting in the end zone. We have Greg Zuerlein, right?
Yep.
Who had
Greg the Leg.
He was 4 for 5 field goals. He attempted 5 field goals. So with an offense like this that moves the ball so well and you have Todd Gurley, I do get a little nervous about them not being able to punch it in.
Well, they don't have a clear red zone threat there.
No, they don't, because you got to think their biggest wide receivers, Robert Woods.
I think Cooper Kupp's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but that's their guys.
He's like 6'2".
Brandon Cooks is amazing. I mean, he's super fast.
He's so fast.
I mean, he's faster than Jared Goff's arm can keep up. But Jared Goff, numbers were, okay. 233 and 2 touchdowns is what you were expecting from Jared Goff. Todd Gurley does Todd Gurley things. I mean, 108 yards, no touchdowns on the ground. But then you add those receiving numbers in there. You add that 3 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. Get you 23, 24 points, depending on what you're doing here. And
which was cool because on that touchdown that he got that they called a reception, it was barely a pitch. I mean, Jared Goff, there was like an inch of air between Jared Goff and Todd Gurley that the ball went into the air. It was like a shovel pass, but it was smaller than a shovel pass. It was bananas.
Yeah, but we talked about Patrick Mahomes, and that's how he had his great day, was because he had 2 of those.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
So it goes forward.
It counts. So and PPR, that's an extra point.
Yeah. But Brandon Cooks, that nice shiny new toy, 5 receptions for 87 yards, and it could have been a lot more if Jared Goff could have let him a little more on some of those deep ones. I mean, I get it. He's throwing the ball 50 yards in the air. And Brandon Cooks is so fast that
there was so much pass interference on Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, if you get points in your league for pass interference yards called against your wide receiver, Brandon Cooks got you probably about 80 points.
I was so happy though when that pass interference. I was playing a guy in our big money league, and he had Brandon Cooks, and I was up by just a little bit, and every time that pass interference happened, I could not have been happier because he was going to catch those long touchdowns.
Yeah. So also to add with Los Angeles was the rookie they got from Tennessee. Help me out here. Forgetting the name. Rookie running back.
John Kelly?
John Kelly. He was inactive, right? And that's the guy everybody's been talking. He had a great preseason, right?
He did.
Preseason phenom. He was inactive. Malcolm Brown was the backup. I mean, Todd Gurley is the 3-down back, but you still do have to worry. Injuries happen, and I don't want to talk about injuries, but he wasn't active, so I wonder if he's really going to get to play as the number 1 back if something happens to Todd Gurley.
I think he will. It's just one of those things that they're being cautious with their guys right now. There's no need to have him active in a situation where they don't need him yet.
Yeah, but I mean, the Rams' offense was exactly what the Rams' offense was. Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions, 52 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing as last year. He just got a touchdown. But I think what was frustrating is in the first half, they were trying to run a lot of these jet sweeps to Cooper Kupp, to Brandon Cooks to get them involved, Robert Woods. But they weren't really giving it to Gurley that much in the first half.
I think this was just to get the Raiders' offense kind of to play a little flatter and maybe spread out because they were loading the box up. And the first couple of runs that Gurley had, he had no room to go up front. That's why his touchdown was a shuffle pass where they got him into space. He would try to go up the middle, and the line in Los Angeles is good, but I don't think it's not. I mean, the Raiders have a really good offensive line when you talk about how big for run blocking it is.
Yeah, it was very apparent that the Raiders no longer have a pass rush. So, good job, Raiders.
It wasn't terrible, though. I mean, they got a few sacks out there.
But it wasn't great. You know how much better it would have been with Khalil friggin' Mack?
Yeah. It would have been a lot better. But,
a lot better. Yeah, the whole reports and everything with that are really strange. I mean, Gruden's talking about he didn't want to be there. Max says it would have been great if Gruden would have even called him. But Gruden has a history of not paying players who are due their money. So, okay, whatever. I think that he's going to keep the quarterback around because Derek Carr's already been paid, but Khalil Mack should have been a part of that team. That's my own opinion. All right, now before we get into the Thursday night preview, Brad has a couple of waiver wire tips he'd like to go ahead and break down for you guys. So, Brad?
All right, so you're probably listening to this. It's probably Wednesday, Thursday. Waivers have cleared, right? So what you need to do is you need to go on there and look at your league page, and you need to see what transactions have happened, right? Who made moves while you all were sleeping? Or what people didn't get picked up. What people you thought would get picked up on waivers that didn't get picked up. Now you could use them for free. Maybe get those $0 fab bids or however your settings are, and not have to use that waiver priority. Because you'll find some little trinkets out there. People will drop people. Somebody might have spike dropped Amari Cooper right now.
Trinkets?
Yeah, little trinkets. Because people might be upset with Amari Cooper and just be done with it.
Oh, I wish they would.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. People make weird decisions at times. Somebody might be dropping Evan Ingram for Jared Cook right now,
or a guy like Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, who they need space on the roster for someone who can actually contribute right now. I mean, I'm not saying Le'Veon Bell's going to get dropped.
He might too. You don't know.
I'm not saying he's not.
Yeah. So you got to look out there and you got to look through these waiver wire moves and see what happened. You can maybe not this week, but 1 or 2 times throughout the season, you'll find somebody out there. Now, for everybody that won this year, won this week, wasn't me. You have the lower waiver priorities if your league setting is that it resets based on standings. if there's not anybody that you really love out there, obviously you can put your waiver priorities in for Jared Cooks or the Denver running back.
Philip Lindsay.
You can put your waiver wire claims in there, but you might not get him because you were the highest scorer and you're the best team, right?
Yeah.
You don't get him, you don't get any waivers. That's fine because all these other teams use their waivers now. They fell down behind you. Now when this Amari Cooper gets dropped, you have the waiver priority to go grab him. To go grab Travis Kelce because somebody's like, well, Patrick Mahomes didn't even target him. I'm done with him.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So you need to. Sometimes when I'm actually, if I ever start winning this year, I will wait and not make a waiver move and just set on my waivers because for one, what's the chances I get my waiver? Two, do I really need? I mean, if you're winning and you're scoring the most points, you have a really good team. Do you really need to tinker with it that much?
And by the way, he's being modest. He will start winning this year. Week 1 is just this weird, abstract week because no one's played football for about 8 months, and people are rusty. I mean, you can sit there and say, well, they played the preseason. One, defenses don't show you anything in the preseason. They stay in pretty much cover 2 the entire time. And then you have your offenses who go out there for, a quarter out of all 4 games.
So you're telling me Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't going to be the NFL MVP this year?
I'll bet you $100 on it.
I can take that bet.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. All right, so anyway, those are some great tips. Thank you, Brad, for that. Now we're going to talk about Bengals and Ravens for our Thursday night preview. Now, we want to go ahead and get started with we're going to have something called the Thursday night MVP. Now, we each have one that we'd like to talk about. I'll go ahead and start it off. My Thursday night MVP, Mr. Michael Crabtree.
Ooh.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is the Bengals secondary, they've lost Adam Jones, so they're not quite as strong right there. And John Brown is going to be your deep threat. Michael Crabtree is going to do Michael Crabtree things. He's going to go ahead and he's going to get about 6-7 catches with a touchdown for about 80 yards. Now, that doesn't sound like a great stat line. But in this game where the Ravens are going to do very well against the Bengals because they do have a great defense. I mean, their defense, it doesn't look stacked on paper, but trust me, that defense is good. I don't really see the obvious things like your A.J. Green blowing up and having a huge, one of those big 4 games that he has every year where he does A.J. Green and he balls out. Joe Mixon, I'm not really banking on that just yet. But so to me, anyway.
I disagree.
Okay, that's fine. We all have our fantasy MVPs. I know you're really high on Joe Mixon this year. There's nothing wrong with that. To me, though, this week, Mr. Michael Crabtree is going to be your guy. And if I have him in any leagues, I'm going to go ahead and start Michael Crabtree.
Now, I'm not saying that's a bad pick. I mean, so the thing I look at when I look at Thursday night is the home team.
Okay.
So if we look every year, almost every week, the home team either plays better than they're supposed to or they win the game outright. And they usually win it on the run game. So that's why I'm looking at Joe Mixon here because he is the 3-down back in Cincinnati. I mean, Marvin Lewis came out and said they're going to try to give him the ball even more now. So I know that Baltimore defense is very good, but
they're so good.
They might be setting a little too high after that Buffalo win.
It's totally possible because Buffalo is awful.
In Buffalo, when you look at the talent on the team, I mean, they're a professional team, but still, when you look at the talent on the team, they don't have the receivers. They don't have even the quarterback, running back that Cincinnati has. So Cincinnati's going to outperform it. Cincinnati's at home, short week. I take the home team. I take Joe Mixon. I take the run game. We see it every week. Usually every week on Thursday night, that's what usually shows up well. I see Alex Collins having a bounce-back game.
Yeah,
it can't get much worse. But
I think with Alex Collins, though, the issue is that they have no loyalty to him whatsoever. He had that fumble, and then they sat him for a couple of series, and when he came back in, the game was already getting out of hand. So
they did that last year too, though. Remember, like it took till about week 6 where they got him rolling and used him.
And the plus is that, and not a plus in the sense that it's good that someone got hurt, but Kenneth Dixon is hurt again, so now it's just between Buck Allen, who will not go away.
Nope.
And you have Alex Collins. So
get the Buck out of here.
Get the Buck out of here. No, I do think that he's gonna have a much better game. I do agree with that. I think Alex Collins is going to. So who is your MVP?
Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon.
You take the run game for Cincinnati. Andy Dalton's going to have a tough time against that Baltimore defense. They have a decent pass rush. They have good safeties and corners. Him and A.J. Green still, I watched multiple games, and it seems like either he misses A.J. Green or A.J. Green just happens to go and drop a touchdown. They did it last week.
I do really think we're starting to see the end of Andy Dalton's career here.
I don't know if it's the end so much because Cincinnati's a team they're never really bad that they get an early pick to get one of these rookie quarterbacks right. but they're never really good enough to win a Super Bowl. They're kind of in that weird limbo stage.
Yeah.
And it's just a weird spot for a team to be in.
Okay.
You talk more about this in NBA, but NFL it happens a few times too.
Absolutely. So as far as starts and sits, we're going to talk about the Bengals first. We're going to sit Andy Dalton. I'm not starting Andy Dalton this week.
I'd sit him. Short week, good defense.
Running backs, Giovanni Bernard and Joe Mixon.
Just Joe Mixon. I'm probably not. Gio is a handcuff right now. I think that's all he is. He's a handcuff.
If you have Joe Mixon, chances are you invested draft capital in him and you're going to start him. But it is going to be a little bit, I think it's going to be tough sledding, but, that's his MVP, so, hey, we'll go with it. Now, as far as wide receivers goes, A.J. Green, start. Duh.
You have to.
Duh.
What about John Ross?
John Ross, to me, is a sit.
Okay.
He didn't prove anything to me in the first week, except that he's real fast, which we already knew.
Yeah, 3 yard fast.
3 yards for a touchdown. That's pretty standard John Ross stuff, so I'm not really banking on John Ross doing anything special yet. All right, now your tight ends, Croft and Eifert.
I'm starting Eifert. When he's healthy, he's still a good tight end. And with the tight end landscape right now, with Delaney Walker hurt, you really can't afford to set a tight end of his talent. Simple as that.
All right, and now we'll switch it over to the Bengals side. So how about the Bengals. So we'll talk about we already talked about the Bengals, excuse me.
Yeah, we did.
So sorry, guys.
We need Pat back.
Now, Baltimore. We do need Pat back. We're struggling without you here. So, Joe Flacco. How do you feel about Joe Flacco?
He's a set for me. I mean, last week was good, and this isn't a terrible matchup, but it's not a great one either when you really look at it. I mean, Andy Luck didn't look amazing against him. He threw the ball 53 times. That's why he had good numbers. And I don't see Joe Flacco throwing the ball 53 times in a game.
No, me neither. And I don't see him needing to in this game either. So, Joe Flacco for me, unless they're playing someone like the Colts, is a sit. I've never been high on Joe Flacco.
No, he's a 2-quarterback type league guy. You're not happy about it playing him when you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the running backs. We have Javorius Allen and Alex Collins. So Alex Collins, we'll start with him first.
I'm starting Alex Collins.
Start. Awesome. Now, Buck Allen had a stat line of 4 rushes for 17 yards and 1 touchdown, and then he had 5 catches for 15 yards. Now, this was against the Bills' awful, disgusting defense. And
it was the Bills' blowout game where they were just pretty much putting anybody in there.
Yeah, so for me,
I think John Harbaugh suited up for a little bit and took a couple carries. I don't know.
Maybe he even called Jim because he's not doing too well at Michigan. Ooh. So, I'm not going to start Javorius Allen. Have fun with that if you are.
You could flex him if you're really hurting. If you're Le'Veon Bell and you still haven't replaced him and you didn't get your waiver claims, you could flex him. It's not a great flex play. And something with that, now that I say flexing him, you don't want to put a Thursday night person in your flex.
Never. Oh, that's such an important tip. We've seen this before. Just because you feel like it's a good idea, do not put one of those people in your flex. They belong in your wide receiver slot or your running back slot. They never, ever, ever go in your flex.
Especially if you're a Leonard Fournette owner. I can't stress this enough. If you think about starting Alex Collins or something and you're going to put him in your flex, put Leonard Fournette in your flex because Leonard Fournette has a hamstring injury. We're not sure if he's going to play. And if what happens is you put Alex Collins in your flex and now Leonard Fournette sets and your best player on your bench is a wide receiver, you are SOL. You can ask your parents what that stands for.
Sorry, out of luck. Actually, it doesn't stand for that. But anyway. All right, and then let's talk about these receivers. So I've already talked about Michael Crabtree. I'm ready to start him.
Crabtree.
He's going to do Crabtree things. He's going to catch touchdowns and he's going to get about 70 yards. Or 80 yards, 7 catches for about 80 yards. Now, the other wide receivers, Willie Snead.
Nope, he's a set.
Hard set. Now, John Brown.
Good old smoke show.
Ooh. This is a tough one, right?
I think you can start him over Willie Snead because what everybody's talked about, Joe Flacco, we've talked about on the show before, is he throws a good deep ball. John Brown is, if I'm starting one of those 2 wide receivers, I'm starting John Brown. He is the premier outside speed guy. I'm not worried about it. I hate bringing up the sickle cell trait, but it is a short week, and with the sickle cell trait, you do wonder about if he's going to be conditioned to play a full game, if they're going to risk him playing full games, running down the field, streaking so much.
John Brown is susceptible to injury. I mean, he does have a 60 catch, he does have a 60 catch 1,000-yard season under his belt, but that was a couple years ago, and he does have that sickle cell trait where he gets hurt. I mean, you don't ever want that to happen to a guy, but while he's healthy,
you can start him at wide receiver. I think if you don't have a better option, I'm not upset at the idea of starting him.
Now, I will say, as far as the tight ends go, you have Boyle, Williams, and Andrews. Both of them caught 3 passes, but Boyle was the guy. He was the starter before the game got out of hand.
I'm not starting any of these guys.
Why?
Just because we don't know which one it is. We saw this a couple years ago from him with, was it Max and all they had when
Dennis Pitta?
When Dennis Pitta first got hurt and we didn't know who the guy was and they had used 3 different guys and if you could make them one person, they were good. But if they're not one person, they spread it out so much to the tight ends that you never know who's going to catch it. You're praying for a touchdown and you're praying that you pick the right one. And I don't trust myself picking the right one. I'd rather go with an Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who at least, if a tight end gets a touchdown, it will be him.
Absolutely. Okay.
Not on Thursday night. I'm not taking that risk on a Thursday night.
Not on a Thursday night, but I will say, I just want to say keep an eye on Boyle. I do feel like Boyle, until Hayden Hurst shows up, we've talked about this before, that Baltimore loves using tight ends, and I do think that Dick Boyle is going to be the guy that they use. That's my opinion. Right now, we're not starting any of them. It's kind of a wait-and-see approach with these tight ends right now. All right, so now that we've broken down our Thursday night game, that's all we have for you guys. We're going to try and fire up another episode on Thursday night.
So just remember about Baltimore defense is that Jimmy Smith is still out for another 3 games. So John Ross might not be a terrible play because they are down a corner.
So do you like either one of these defenses to start?
Baltimore's defense is one of the best defenses in the league, so you can still start that defense. And if you have them on your team, you're probably only carrying one defense. I'm not dropping them or dropping a good player for the Jets defense.
No, so
to start over Baltimore.
We didn't talk about that earlier. The Jets balled out all 3 phases: offense, defense, special teams. But let's remember, this is week 1. Let's not get too crazy here. Same thing with Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're not going to go out there and say he's going to be our MVP. So calm down. Let's wait till we see a little bit more from the Jets. Remember, they got rid of some key defensive players that ended up hindering their defense a little bit. Just because it looks good right now doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. All right,
that's the show here. We'll send it off into the night.
All right, thank you guys so much for your support on this episode. We'd like to thank Blue Space Productions. Empty Wagon FF is where we're going to be at on Twitter. Hit us up. I'm also going to be on Twitter at FF Josh Hughes, and then Brad will be at Tack Jones. So please go ahead, give us some tweets, let us know what you think. We'll go ahead and do a mailbag segment. We'll do whatever you want. We'll answer your questions. We're here to help you win your league. Thank you guys very much. Have a great night.
Cincy beats Baltimore.
Ooh.